Hello, and here we are again. It is the 28th of October 2020 today, and in today's video I wanted to talk about smoking and anxiety. So as you may already know from my introduction, I experience agoraphobia with panic disorder and symptoms such as derealization, the normal physical sensations, or I should say the expected physical sensations of heartbeat, or higher heart rate and all that sort of thing, plus other things. But we won't dwell on that in this video. We're going to talk about smoking and anxiety. So if you already experience anxiety conditions, panic disorder, agoraphobia, and you smoke, you might be a little bit reluctant to give up smoking. I was, and the reason for it is giving up smoking and withdrawal from nicotine, and the symptoms that go along with giving up smoking kind of worried me into thinking that it's going to cause panic attacks and all that type of thing. Now, some people do suggest that if you do smoke, not to give up smoking if you do experience anxiety issues and panic disorder and so on. But I guess you got to weigh up. I mean, obviously smoking's not good for you on a physical level, so you got to weigh up all these things. So anyway, I gave up smoking this year, and I think I've given up for good. So I gave up on January the 8th, 2020, and it wasn't easy, and I'm going to explain how I did it, or describe how I got through it, because I actually didn't think I could give up this time round for one of the reasons which I just said, which was I kind of feared more anxiety, and the anxiety levels do go up. And I started giving up before the COVID thing, although when the COVID thing did hit in and we were on lockdown, it kind of did make it easier for me to go through the symptoms of withdrawal, although the physical withdrawal lasted for about 2 or 3 days, and that was the worst. And I have tried giving up smoking before, and I did give up in my early 20s to late 20s, and I gave it for 4 years. And I had obviously had symptoms of withdrawal then. Funny enough, I think panic attacks I think I was having panic attacks because of withdrawal then, but I didn't put the two things together, although I'm not saying the smoking caused my panic attacks. I'm saying it exacerbated anxiety that I already had. So it did make things worse. But anyway, I might be a bit all over the place here, but hopefully I get my point across throughout the video. And of course, this is just my own experience, by the way, and I'm not telling anybody what they should and shouldn't do. And in all cases, if you're not too sure, you need to seek advice from professionals. I'm not professional, I'm just somebody that experiences and has experienced high levels of anxiety and panic attacks and panic disorder with symptoms and so on. So so I gave up smoking. I probably started smoking when I was about 16. Well, I did have the odd cigarette when I was at school, so around about sort of like 14 I'd have the odd one, and then we had school discos, and I would smoke at school discos, and it seems to be a very strange path for how people do get addicted, because I make myself ill smoking. That should be enough to put you off, but there's silly things in my head. There's this, it may be an unconscious level or a semi-conscious level that you're doing it for the cool factor, peer pressure. I mean, a lot of my idols smoked at the time, so when you're younger, well, some people still sort of like hero worship into their adulthood, but I don't do that now. But I was, ironically, like Eddie Van Halen just died. Unfortunately, he was one of my heroes back in the day. He's a hero now, guitar hero. Or, highly respect his contribution to music and the guitar. But anyway, back when I was a teenager, I saw Eddie Van Halen smoking Marlboro cigarettes. So I smoke Marlboro cigarettes because of that. Really, if I'm honest, it's like embarrassing to say that I saw people, the things that I was into, that I would be influenced by that. I mean, now I would be completely different. But there's some crazy things. I think maybe, well, probably a lot of us, most of us, are probably influenced by silly things that could actually take us down a destructive path. I suppose a little bit like the Pinocchio story. Pinocchio's innocent, and then he gets led off by the cat and the fox. I suppose Adam and Eve. The Adam and Eve story is a similar story when Adam and Eve leave the Garden of Eden. But anyway, anyway, we're not going to be religious. I'm not a religious person, by the way. I'm just using that as an example story from mythology and all that sort of thing. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons I gave up smoking. Anyway, I gave up smoking the first time round when I was about 23. So I gave it for 4 years. And then I started again when I was 27. And by the time I got to 27, I was experiencing full-blown agoraphobia, so which means I was housebound. So that was a gradual progression, and that's another story for another video. So in this video, we're just talking about smoking and anxiety. But I will say there's some people that talk about agoraphobia, and they seem to have a different definition. But anyway, again, that's another story for another time, or another discussion for another time. So I keep going off on tangents, don't I? So I'm still practicing these sort of videos, so hopefully you can bear with me. So anyway, back to the smoking. So I'm 27, I'm housebound, agoraphobic. For some reason, I decide to start smoking again. I was an electrician, and I used to use like old cigarette tins, like to put screws and things in. So I found this tin one day, so I'm not working at this point. So I'm at the end of being a self-employed electrician. My business has pretty much gone down the pan because of my agoraphobia. My relationships out the window, and I'm selling the house that I'm living in. I bought the house with a lady at the time. We split up, so I had about a year in the house while I was agoraphobic. And so again, that's another story for another time. But anyway, I had this cigarette tin, and I just decided to paint it. So I painted it in like this like psychedelic design on the tin. I've probably got a picture of it somewhere, so I might put it up sometime. Anyway, then after that I thought, I need to utilise this tin, and this seems like an excuse just to start smoking, really. So I filled it with tobacco, got some cigarette papers and some filters. I think I was smoking with filters back then. And so it was like a little kit, so a little smoking kit, like a activity kit type of thing. So anyway, I started smoking. And there we are. I was thinking I'd just have a social cigarette from time to time, but that doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work for me anyway. So then, in no time, I was addicted again and smoking full time. So, moving on, nearly 20 years, and I've moved several times since then and been through all kinds of other things since then. But I tried to give up smoking 2 years ago, and I thought I'd go onto the vapes. I thought that would act as a crutch and all that type of thing, but actually all that did was, to me, I see that as leaving a foot in the door to go back to smoking, and that's what I actually did. I mean, I would use the vapes and then buy the odd packet of cigarettes every month or 6 weeks, have that, and then go back to the vapes, and then eventually I was back on roll-up cigarettes again, until this year. And I decided, right, I'm going to go cold turkey. And now at the beginning I didn't think I was going to do it, because I just felt like I was so addicted to smoking that I wouldn't be able to do it. But so I thought, right, I'm just going to take each day as it comes. So on January the 8th, I said, right, I'm not going to smoke this day. And so I got through that day. Second day, got through that day, and I'm starting to climb the walls by now. The nicotine withdrawal is coming in, and I am feeling anxious as well. Feeling agitated, restless, and anxious, but not to the point of a panic attack. So I stay in as long as I stayed in my safe place, which I did. I kind of got through the withdrawal. So the third day was bad as well as far as physical withdrawal goes. So that's the worst I've ever experienced nicotine withdrawal. So basically, I just took each day as it came, and then after that, it was like a week, and I just got to the point where there was sort of like I didn't want to go back. So I did a week, great. Still experiencing anxiety, and then got to 3 weeks, and then my cravings became more again. I actually searched into the internet. It seems they call it like the horrible threes or something. You get bad withdrawal after 3 days, and then you crave after 3 weeks. Although you've got the nicotine out of your system after 3 days apparently. Of course, then you've got all the psychological stuff. So after 3 weeks, I started craving again. That's when I searched on the internet, and then again after 3 months. So 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months could be the times you might go back to smoking. And for me, they were the worst times. And I think if you get to 3 months, though, I think you can see light at the end of the tunnel, and you're kind of coming out of the woods type of thing. Although I had a friend that came over, and we sat in the garden. It's probably around about May or June, so that's like January, February, April, May. So maybe around about that third or fourth month, I actually rolled a cigarette from a friend, and I smoked it. I didn't really smoke it properly, and this is a silly thing to do. This is kind of like Russian roulette, really, because I was either going to enjoy it or not. And luckily I didn't, and it actually made me feel ill, made me feel dizzy and nauseous for about half an hour, and I thought, this is it. And I don't think I smoked the whole cigarette. I think I just smoked half of it, and that was it. And so I built up that bad association to smoking then, and since then I never looked back. Probably had the odd craving, but they didn't last very long, and now we're into October, so I've given up for just over 10 months. And or 9 months, just over 9 months, and I don't even think about a cigarette. There might be just one little occasion, like a little twinge, and it's gone as soon as it's come, sort of thing. So it doesn't dominate my life. That's another thing. It doesn't dominate my life at all. So I'm really glad that it has no power, or extremely a tiny minuscule. Well, so there's no power. I can't even say minuscule power. It's just no power. I'd like to see a whole year out, and I feel 100% confident that I won't go back. Mind you, having said that, like some of the reasons maybe some of us go back to smoking, this could be stressful events and all that sort of thing. But I think maybe we do that as a compulsion rather than anything else. I think if you can stay mindful about things, then you could probably keep away from it. So yeah, and there was a few things that were weird to me, as I noticed, like, I mean, even though I'm like a kind of housebound agoraphobic, I can sort of go out a little bit down the road, not very far at the moment, and again that's going to be another video, so I'm actually filming my recovery process, so I'll put videos up at that at some point. But yeah, look, I was going to say, I keep myself busy inside the house, so like making videos. I think I said before that I've got some other YouTube channels, which there's one called Moonrunner Music, where I do music and mainly guitar videos, and I've got like my own musical project, Angel Rust, which is basically collaborating with other musicians online, so you can do all the recording at home. I've got an arts and crafts channel called Drama Mask Evolution, so that's what it says, like arts and crafts, sort of concrete and making concrete figurines and art stuff, drawing, painting, sculpting, and other things. So anyway, like the reason I mentioned that is I keep myself busy inside. Now I noticed when I was smoking, it was almost like the smoking was the priority thing. Like I'd do something, so I don't know, make a music video or something like that, or record some music, and you're working towards having a cigarette. So then you'd have your cigarette break. Like having a cigarette is more important than making the video, or whatever you're doing, whatever task you're doing around the house and all that sort of thing, which is ridiculous. So obviously that developed into a ritual over the years. So after giving up, there's all these little gaps. So after you finish something, it's like, oh, you got. I'm supposed to be smoking now. That's what your body's thinking. You know, it's like the psychological residue after giving up smoking, and that's a kind of weird feeling. So there's these spaces to be filled, but that's the wrong way of looking at it anyway. Because really, like if you're doing something, if you're doing a project, whatever it is, that's the most important thing you're doing in that moment in time, if you like. Not the smoking. The smoking, well, it's silly to smoke anyway, as we know. Very unhealthy. But it did a weird thing, so there's that odd habit. So, but anyway, that did diminish eventually, and you get more done. Then you're not thinking about smoking, then you can think about other things, like proper life things, healthy things, I should say. So that took a while to get through. I did put a bit of weight on because, you know, your appetite goes up after giving up smoking, but I wasn't so worried about that at the time because it is I suggest to people don't worry about that, just go through the motions, certainly in the first maybe 2 or 3 months, and then think about, once you've calmed down a bit after you withdraw, then you can think about what you're going to do. If you can do that sooner, then great, but I don't think it's a good idea to pile too much pressure on yourself, like dieting, giving up smoking and all that sort of thing all at the same time. There's a lot to take on board. If you could do it, then great. I probably wouldn't. Well, we could all do it, but I think that wouldn't put me in a very good state of mind. Anyway, I'm exercising. I did change my diet eventually to like a more healthy diet after I'd given up, because I want to give up sugar, well, refined sugars as well. So I gave up refined sugars probably in, well, I did. I gave up refined sugars in August. So the only sugar intake I have now is from fruit, and that fruit is in the form of strawberries, blueberries, kiwi fruit, and I like bananas too. So sort of sticking to sort of the berries and like sort of low calorie fruits, and that's about it. I was addicted to sugar too, and I think a lot of us are, and I didn't think I'd be able to survive without sugar, refined sugar I'm talking about, you know, like granulated sugar, processed sugar. I don't even think about that now either. But anyway, in relation to smoking, you might have already given up refined sugars anyway before giving up smoking, so that's great. What I'm saying is that there's a lot, like these changes, they all kind of cause stress. So whatever changes you're going through, for me, I think it's best to do like one change at a time, which I'm still doing now. So, like I say, after smoking, I gave up refined sugars, and I changed my diet to a more healthy diet. I wouldn't say I ate rubbish before, but I was eating too many rubbish things. Say for instance, I don't know, if you had a packet of biscuits, if I opened a packet of biscuits, I can't stop at one. I'll eat the whole packet. So I don't have biscuits in the house now. I haven't got any willpower. I could probably have them in the house now, and I probably wouldn't eat them. So like things like cereal. So I eat a fair bit of porridge, oatmeal as you might say in America. I always thought I wouldn't be able to eat cereal without putting a sprinkling of refined sugars on top, but I can eat porridge without the sugar, and it tastes fine. And I can now. I've given up given up smoking, of course, but given up sugar for so long, I can actually the oats. They are sweet enough. It's nice. It feels It tastes nice when you eat them. So my only advice on smoking is to watch your anxiety levels. If you are experiencing high levels of anxiety anyway, if you're like in a similar situation to me, you're agoraphobic, you might feel, so you got a safe place, which is your home. Obviously, you want to concentrate on getting better, or getting out and about eventually, which is what I'm doing at the moment. But if you have got a safe place, use that safe place to kind of cushion the anxiety that you will feel from nicotine withdrawal and giving up smoking. And like I say, if you do the 3 months, it does go down. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, and it could be easy to go back, but just take it minute by minute, right? You haven't, like hour by hour. I think it's a good idea. Like I've got friends that do smoke, and like I say, because of the COVID lockdown, I wasn't seeing so many people, and therefore I didn't see any smoker friends for the first few months. So for me, it's probably a good idea to keep away from people that smoke, and because for me it's too easy to ask them for cigarettes. Not their fault. It's my problem. But until you're strong enough not to smoke, now if somebody smokes in front of me, it doesn't matter. I don't feel I need a cigarette. So that feels good to me. And when you get to that stage, like look back on what you've achieved there as well. Because like I said, I didn't think I could do it. And also these things, like what you think you can't do, just prove yourself wrong. So I've proved myself wrong there, and I can carry that into my recovery from panic disorder and agoraphobia. There's moments I think I can't do this, but just do it anyway and prove yourself wrong. Just do these things. I'm running around the community room at the moment, which is at the end of my street. It's only like 2 doors down. Like I said, I'm doing some videos on that. 6 weeks ago, I didn't think I could do that. I've done it before. I mean, if anybody that experiences anxiety, they know they've done it before. But when they're in a situation when sometimes it's like a backwards and forwards thing, and as we know, like some days are better than others. And people who experience agoraphobia, anxiety, or any anxiety, panic disorder condition will know that you feel like you can't do it. Now that is that thought is so it's such a big obstacle. Obviously, there's that chap. Is it Henry Ford, the American car bloke? Didn't he say, or was it the one of the presidents of America, President Ford? I can't remember who said it now. I think it might have been Henry Ford. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter anyway. But they said if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. Which is true, isn't it? Now, I would take that a little bit further. I would say, like people that do experience anxiety conditions, we know what it's like to say we believe we can't do something. So we're going to think that. So I say, right, go with that. Do it anyway and prove yourself wrong. So if you say, right, I can't go out today, go outside, see how you feel, do as much as you can. And again, prove yourself wrong. I mean, like I said, like with the smoking, I said I can't do this. I did it. With the community room, I said I can't do that. I'll go out thinking that I can't do it, but just sort of go for it anyway. I mean, obviously you want to get thought processes kind of be aware of your thought processes. One of my problems with anxiety was to focus too much on those type of thoughts, and before going out, making the anxiety thoughts bigger, which would give me an anxiety attack or whatever. But now I sort of like try and be in the present moment. I know that's a cliche, but it does help to be in the present moment, think about what you're doing at that moment in time. So like I think I've said in the first video on the introduction, I've been walking in the house sort of backwards and forwards and using that as a meditation. process also, so trying to stay in the moment. I listen to something on YouTube, a documentary, or on the radio, some sort of motivational videos, positive things, and sometimes that can grab your attention. Something really interesting to listen to that takes you away from any thoughts that might cause anxiety and things like that. Actually, that can help with your smoking as well. Get a craving, divert your thoughts away from the cravings. I think I did that during giving up smoking. I found when you're sort of recovering, like with the smoking, because you're not thinking about it anymore. And I think that's the same can be transferred to the anxiety. Sometimes, like I go around the community block, around the community block. Some days it's really hard because the thoughts in my head are fueling the anxiety. Some days it's easy. Because I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. And because it feels so easy, I think it should be harder than what it is. But that is, when it's easy, that is your recovery. That is what it's like to be recovered. Like I was running around the buildings. First of all, I started going around like once a day, and then I pushed up to 5 times a day. Gradually built up to 5 times a day. And in the last week or so, I've actually done more than 5 times, but on quite a few occasions, I'm not thinking about it. And again, I feel like, because it doesn't feel like I'm getting any anxiety, it feels like I haven't worked for it, if that makes any sense. I haven't had that pain to work for it. Now, this might be a sort of cultural thing, because it's sort of brought up to, like, things that are hard work, that you have to earn things through hard work. Well, it is hard work to train yourself to do these things, but it gets easier, and it's in those easy moments that, again, that's the recovery. Your brain is freed up to think about other things then and enjoy the world around you, which makes total sense. If I'm making any sense to anybody, I'm sure I'm probably making sense to people that can, they experience like the anxiety conditions, or whatever anxiety condition you're experiencing. So, like with weight, I started lifting weights because I want to do exercise. I'm doing all kinds of exercise, walking and like running around the block for my mind. So, and it seems to be helping. But anyway, I use like the weight analogy. So lifting weights is hard work, first of all, to start lifting weights. Then, of course, they once you practice that and build your muscles up, then of course it gets easy, doesn't it? And that's when you may choose to up your weights to put on some more muscle and all that sort of thing. But obviously getting somewhere it obviously takes effort, but you get to a stage where it's almost effortless. So I suppose the recovery is like that from all kinds of things: smoking, anxiety, training for whatever you're training for. I could use, like, say, the guitar, like playing guitar. So if I learn something new, it can be awkward, hard work, and frustrating. And as we know, through recovering from anxiety, it can be frustrating. But anyway, going back to the guitar, if I learn something new, if I do that a few times, do it nice and slow, build up into a speed, after a while it becomes effortless, and you can play that without thinking about it. And your mind's freed up to think about other things. You can say, I know people use I've used the analogy of driving a car as well. When you learn driving a car, it's very awkward. It's like in England we have the gears and a clutch. I think you call it stick shift in America. So that's a lot to think about. So you put your foot on the clutch, stick it into gear, release the clutch and away you go. I remember learning driving first of all, and that was like so alien. But then I can't remember the in-between stage of learning that. Then all of a sudden you're driving, you're switching gears and not thinking about it, and that's it. So it shows how hard work, like the learning processes, which can be hard work, changes into something that is obviously automatic, goes into the automatic part of your mind and forms habits. And there we are. So have I gone off the beaten track again? Anyways, a lot of these things, there's lots of these things that can be talked about in other videos, because this channel is going to be mainly about anxiety recovery, panic disorder recovery, and all that sort of thing. But there's going to be lots of positive things to help as well. Like I say, this is like it's the channel is about my journey, as everybody says these days. But yeah, my sort of like route through all this and sort of healthy living from being unhealthy. For example, smoking and doing the best we can. So going back to the smoking again, like if you're worried about giving up smoking while experiencing anxiety, maybe just like feel it out, give it up for one day, see how you feel. If you can get past those first 3 days, I think they're the worst, then you can do it. The first 3 days will be the worst. Well, they were for me. You might experience a whole week, perhaps, if you can go through that. That's great. They're still not easy after that. But if you can make it to that 3-month period and try and stay away from smokers in the meantime, anything that's going to trigger you into a cigarette, because you will crave cigarettes in the first few months. It will dwindle a little bit, like I say, but and some days are going to be like you just like I don't know. I don't want to sort of like catastrophize it. Like hanging on for dear life is what I'm like thinking on in my head. But keep yourself busy, do things. That's what I was gonna say. What I did was, which what helped me in the first month or 6 weeks maybe, is I rolled, like I just put empty filters into a rolling paper, and I just sucked on that. So just smoking fresh air. Smoking fresh air doesn't make any sense. So I'm just sucking on a filter. So I just stacked a load of filters together so they kind of represented a cigarette. So if I did get a really bad craving, at least I'm alleviating some of the feelings that go along with craving a cigarette. So yeah, I did that for about a month to 6 weeks, and then I can't remember when I stopped, because it's sort of like I naturally stopped that. So that helped me a lot. But just do anything that's going to help you. I don't know, like my friend, when she gave up, she did breathe, and I think she breathed like she was smoking, because actually when you're smoking, you're actually inducing that sort of relaxing breath motion. I think that's why people associate smoking with relaxation, because one, you're breathing in a relaxing way, and also as well, if you're taking a break as well, so you're associating the smoking with like relaxing situations. If when you're smoking, you're usually in a relaxed state. You might have a cup of coffee or something like that, another stimulant, but you are actually stimulating your body in the long run, and then you need another cigarette later on, and you're looking forward to that. But you're always stressed out, aren't you? Like looking forward to that next cigarette. It's just ridiculous. You realise how ridiculous it is as well when you're out of it, of course. But you know it's ridiculous when you're in it. It's hard work to give it up, but it can be done. They say like habit forming, they say like takes around about 3 months to form a new habit. You could say like not smoking is a new habit, so after 3 months it's going to be easier. But like I say, like don't dwell on it. Any aid that you can get to help you through it, then great. Divert your thoughts from it. Let the craving come and go. And that's about it, isn't it? What else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. I can't remember what it was now. I know there's people like talking about the Alan Carr book. A friend of mine gave up. He read the Alan Carr book, so that might help some people, but I've never read it. I don't think I need it now. Oh yeah, I was going to say about the vapes. I would not recommend using vapes to give up smoking. Um, they're not good for me. Like I say, they kind of like leave me hooked, and I use the term like leaving your foot in the door to going back to smoking. So it's no, for me it's no good. Um, I think I'm a sort of like, oh, well, I mean, what you tell yourself is what you are, so it's not strictly true, is it? But I feel sometimes like an all or nothing. I'm either going to smoke or not. Well, I don't want to smoke, so I don't want anything. Also, as well, you're still like a. When I used the vapes the first time round, I was buying the vape juice with the nicotine in, so you're still addicted to the nicotine, and that's going to stimulate you as well. You don't really want that while you're experiencing anxiety. Um, and then you want to go up the vapes, and also as well, there's like nobody knows what vapes do to you either. So people smoking vapes now are kind of like guinea pigs for the future. They're saying they're not very good for you at all, and there's been a few stories about vapes as well. But anyway, I don't know anything about that. But I just don't want to use that anyway. Another thing, yes, breathing. Like while you are giving up smoking, practice breathing techniques that will um, benefit you for relaxation. Which is obviously a good remedy against anxiety. So practice breathing techniques. We'll go into some breathing techniques. I think I mentioned in my intro video. And I'm going to research breathing techniques a lot more. I know a few, but there's one that really helps me. It's just like a quick breath, but then slowly release. And I find like to get that nice deep, or to get a good sort of lungful of oxygen, is to breathe in twice, like twice in succession, like that, and then again like release slowly. Because I sometimes wonder, because I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but when you're breathing, you're supposed to breathe into your abdomen, and feel the air go into it. But I don't. I find it hard to feel the air going into my abdomen, and I'm not very kind of aware of chest and abdomen feelings. I suppose a shallow breath, but the air must be going into the abdomen while I'm breathing there, because I'm putting my hands on my stomach, and when I breathe in, my thumbs are going apart, so that would indicate that the air is going into my abdomen. Anyway, it feels good when I'm doing it, but I need to practice a lot more as well. I've been practicing for a fair bit, but to become more in tune with my breathing. Before I go outside to do my practice confronting anxiety outside, I do my breathing while I'm walking backwards and forwards, exercising, relaxing myself, like dropping my shoulders to relax as well. Because when the anxious thoughts come in, and they obviously still come into play, they're going to tense your body up without you knowing. So it's kind of like a constant monitoring situation, to not monitoring over the top, but just to see if you're like relaxed or tense. The more relaxed you are, the better. And obviously, like if you get, well, because you probably, the chances are you're probably going to get anxious when you give up smoking. You use these techniques as well. Relax, get through it, and you'll notice like you sort of employ a sort of mindfulness technique. If you're not familiar with that, just like maybe just notice that you're not thinking about things. You might think that you're thinking about one thing all the time, but you're backwards and forwards. Your brain goes backwards and forwards. So even if you're like craving a cigarette, you're not going to be thinking about craving a cigarette all the time. You might hear the post person put a letter through the door, and then you're not thinking about it. So you're thinking about that, go and get the letter or your post or whatever, and then you're back to thinking about the craving again. So in those moments, you're not craving. So it is, but it just feels like the same with the anxiety. Like when you're not anxious, you're actually recovered. in in a way. Like I was saying, like when I'm running around the block and it feels easy, I'm recovered in that moment. But then the thoughts come back. So again, it's like backwards and forwards. Like when you're like when you're smoking. Between cigarettes, you're actually giving up smoking. Your body's healing itself, and then you smoke again. So you are, it's not like, it's not. There's all these. It's not black and white type of thing, is it? It's a funny old thing. But you like sort of being mindful of those things. You sort of notice just things are sort of about here, there, and everywhere, which is a good start to seeing how your mind works and then sort of doing things which are healthy to give you a more healthy outlook and healthy to help you be more healthy in mind and body. Mind and body, that's another cliche thing. I'm going to try and avoid these cliches, but sometimes you just can't avoid the cliches, can you? So anyway, I think we've come to the end of this video. So again, this video is mainly about anxiety and smoking, but we've sort of like, as I tend to do, go off on tangents. I need a little bit of more mindfulness practice, because I obviously going off on tangents there. But good luck for any of you that are just about to give up smoking. Great if you've already done that, and if you've given up smoking with anxiety or given up smoking without anxiety, then leave some comments in the comment section below for good, useful tips to do with this topic. So like I say, good luck to everybody. Good luck to the people that are on their own journey with recovering from agoraphobia, panic disorder. And like I say in this video, good luck on your journey to giving up smoking as well. So I look forward to talking to you all in the next video, and wishing everybody well for now. So see you soon, and thanks for watching. Good luck everybody.